welcome to Bias Bash. I'm Lauren Green. Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey has found himself in the middle of what is being called Bridgegate, which prosecutors allege that Christie knew his staff was using the George Washington Bridge as a tool for political payback against the mayor of Fort Lee, New Jersey, for not endorsing Christie for re-election. Well, the bridge had undergone a two-lane closure, causing a major congestion, which Christie denied having any involvement in. Well, the question today is, does the media seem to be ignoring the fact that a top Trump surrogate is in a very public fight? Here with her take is Talk Media News Bureau Chief and a Fox News contributor, Ellen Ratner. Welcome to you, Ellen.
Thank you so much.
So what do you make of this? I want the the flyover picture right now.
Well, look, it looks like the testimony is going against Governor Christie, but the press hasn't been doing its job, which is to say, hey, Governor Christie is in charge of Mr. Trump's transition team. That is, that if he wins the presidency, they already start their transition teams months before. And here's a guy that may be an unindicted co-conspirator or something like that, because they haven't indicted Governor Christie. But here's the guy that's in charge of his transition team. Why isn't the press looking into why did Mr. Trump make this decision, and is he still standing by Governor Christie? That's a very important question, and the press is ignoring it. Very
interesting, because I wonder, is the press ignoring it, or are they just distracted by all of the other sort of political highlights of the campaign?
Well, distraction is certainly one part of ignoring. And if you're distracted by the debates, if you're distracted by Hillary's health, if you're distracted by a whole bunch of things, then you're not necessarily going to pay attention to what might be a very crucial issue. And the head of your transition team being a governor who is not looking so good anymore with this Bridgegate business, that's something the press needs to be paying attention to.
How much of this, though, is a media witch hunt in terms of sort of demanding that there be more and more investigation into this? Because at one point it seemed as though, you know, is there really anything here? In fact, one of the stories saying is that the one David Wilstein who testified, saying, you know, he elaborated his take after talking to the Attorney General.
Well, he may have elaborated his take. He may have also been given any kind of immunity or promises. That's what we don't know. And, you know, I mean, this may be nothing. Maybe Governor Christie didn't know anything about it. But the question is for the candidate, Donald Trump, to be asked, are you still supporting Chris Christie? Will he still be head of your transition team? What do you think and feel about this? That's what the press needs to be asking the Trump campaign.
I see. Very interesting stuff. All right. Thank you so much, Ellen.
Thank you.
And if you want to hear more media analysis on the week's top headlines, catch Media Buzz with Howard Kurtz, Sundays at 11 a.m. and Eastern, and again at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Fox News Channel. I'm Lauren Green, and thanks for watching.
Disturbing video shows the deadly end to a police chase in Louisiana when a 6-year-old boy was killed. We want to warn you that the video is graphic. A judge allowed the release of the body camera video showing 2 deputy city marshals in Marksville opening fire on an SUV last November. The driver was wounded, but his autistic son in the passenger seat was killed. The marshals face murder charges at an upcoming trial. David Begnaud is at the courthouse in Marksville. David, good morning.
Nora, good morning. The judge is also questioning a key claim from the defense that this vehicle posed an immediate danger to those marshals after the chase ended. But in deciding to release the video, the judge was quoted as saying, "I dare say it was not even close to being used as a deadly weapon at that time."
The body camera video starts in silence. It shows deputy city marshals in Marksville, Louisiana, chasing an SUV in November of last year. They claimed after the chase ended that the driver posed a threat when he backed his vehicle toward them, even though it appears the driver showed both hands to the officers. 2 marshals opened fire. They shot 18 rounds. 6-year-old Jeremy Martis, diagnosed with autism, was killed in the passenger seat, hit 5 times in the head and chest. His father was driving. Christopher Few was shot twice, but survived. Marshals Derek Stafford and Norris Greenhouse Jr. are charged with second-degree murder. Stafford is heard on tape saying he didn't know the boy was there.
I never saw a kid before, man.
Yeah, he's, the kid is...
I never saw a kid, bro. I was telling him to stop.
It's unclear when officers first checked on young Jeremy. You don't see an officer go to the passenger side until about 7 minutes after shots were fired.
Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Anybody else has gloves? Y'all want to maybe pull that juvenile out and see if he... Well, I hate to touch anything. I know. Till Caden gets it, man. I hate to... The only reason I'm doing him because he's the driving suspect. That pulse. Still working on him? He's got one? This thing.
Paramedics arrived about 9 minutes after the shooting to take Few away in an ambulance.
You advise the juvenile is deceased?
The station looked like it had collapsed on top of the car. It was pretty crazy to look at. First, you don't know what happened. You know, your thoughts go to terrorism right away, and then you realize that the train just never stopped. You know, it went right over the barricade, and you saw it. You know, I posted a couple of pictures. The train car went, all the way into the up to the rest area, so it had, I guess, ran right across the entire platform. First, there were a lot of people screaming, and everyone, kind of calmed down, and everyone was stunned. Eventually the police got everyone moved back, but as you go through the rest area, as we were getting out of there, there was a couple of people, being tended to with injuries already. One guy, his entire face and head were bloodied, and he looked stunned, but it was pretty harrowing to look at.
The woman who was killed on the platform was a 34-year-old Hoboken resident. Her name, Fabiola Bittard de Kroon. She was an attorney and a mother of a young child. DeMarco Morgan has more about the injured.
First responders quickly arrived to treat more than 100 injured, sending at least 74 bloodied and dazed commuters to area hospitals. Alexis Valley is 5 months pregnant. She was sitting in the first car and suffered a head injury.
I thought we were going to die. I didn't think we were going to get out.
No one knew what was going on.
David Milak was also on the train and narrowly escaped after the ceiling collapsed.
Did you help anybody get out of the train? Were people trying to help you?
We tried to clear the way for the people that were bleeding more to get out first.
A passenger on the platform shot this video of the aftermath. Witnesses say many who were waiting for a train were badly hurt.
There were folks hobbling around, people holding their limbs, holding their backs and things like that. There were definitely some bad injuries.
At Hoboken University Medical Center, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Mika Roberson says most of the injuries were non-life-threatening.
We received 22 patients from the accident, bumps, bruises, some walking wounded, some lacerations, and fractures as well.
Amy Krulowitz escaped without any injuries.
Well, I'm afraid to get back on the train, and I've been commuting to New York City for 30 years.
Here at Jersey City Medical Center, a regional trauma center, all 53 passengers who walked in with minor injuries have been released.
DeMarco Morgan, thanks.
No group has been hit harder by austerity in France than pensioners, and they have led major demonstrations year in and year out. France's elderly are persistent, but they are also ignored.
The government remains totally insensible to the years of demonstrations, but we will continue. For several years our pensions haven't been updated. We continue to lose purchasing power, so it's harder and harder to make it to the end of the month.
If a country's economic policy cannot even take care of the elderly and infirm, shouldn't that policy be stopped? According to France's leadership, no, because they have just unveiled their 2017 budget, and it will be a 6th consecutive year of austerity. France is accused of having a major deficit of democracy because in 2012, Francois Hollande campaigned on ending austerity. His final budget aims to bring France's fiscal deficit under the arbitrary 3% set by Brussels, and he's tried to do it by making France's neediest groups pay for tax cuts to the wealthy and corporations.
They are cutting aid to widows, aid to families with children, and they are drastically reducing aid to families for housing. We must remember that the government is not only making it hard on current pensioners, but their failure to properly fund and re-index pensions will make it even harder for the next generation of old people.
Incredibly, the media has focused on the fact that the budget is based on an economic growth rate of 1.5% and not a more modest 1.3%. The simple fact is that both growth rates represent a failed economic policy for any nation. Such fault-finding obscures the fact that the Eurozone's second-largest economy is persisting with austerity, even though right-wing economists, like those at the IMF, have declared them a failure. The 2017 budget may get France under the 3% mark, but once that's achieved, many wonder what will be the next excuse for austerity. Even if they can't come up with one, the French are moving 1 year closer to a lost decade. Ramin Mazaheri, Press TV, Paris.
This was a Pascack Valley Line train that was due into Hoboken Terminal at 8:38 a.m. We have multiple injuries, multiple critical injuries right now. The terminal is shut down. We have no service on PATH, no service on New Jersey Transit Rail, no service on New Jersey Transit Light Rail. New Jersey Transit bus and private carriers are cross-honoring for our customers. Obviously, this just happened a short while ago, so we're going to be doing some investigations. There's some injuries to our crew, and those are being assessed right now, and we're going to be doing this regular updates for you folks. We're encouraging people to stay away from Hoboken Terminal. They have no service here whatsoever.